Now I want to welcome in my guest of the week, World Series champion, the first of the pod, the first World Series champ, current pitcher for the Chicago White Sox, Lance Lynn. Lance, what is up, man? Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem, man. Everything's good. Thanks for having me.
So full disclosure, I was watching, I was like looking back at some video and saw your like 2000. Did you know you have like a reel from 2017 post-game interviews? Just where you were like screwing around with everybody. So I was watching that and didn't know if you knew that was a thing.
Yeah, I had some good fun there for a couple of years with people. They didn't know how to take it, so that made it fun for me for sure.
So I would imagine if I was in that position, like, one, the way baseball media has been portrayed for so long is annoying, kind of. Like, you come off of a good outing, great. You come off of a bad outing, and for the first question to be asked, what was it like giving up 3 homers? It's like, what do you want me to say? So I watched like the full video. It was like 30 minutes worth. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my go-to whenever you have a good one. You don't talk about anything about yourself. Everything was about your team and all the nonsense you could. But when you had a bad one, you got to own it and move on.
Yeah. So you got to play in the Little League World Series, and a lot of people can relate to, like, a lot of people can relate to playing Little League baseball. And I know personally, that's kind of the goal. Oh my God, I want to play in the Little League World Series. What was that like? 1999 Williamsport, what was the Little League World Series experience like?
Man, it was crazy because when you're growing up, Little League was cool. And then we had this central region. So it was like the last spot you would play to go to the Little League World Series, real close to where I grew up in Indianapolis. So we'd always go watch it when I was younger. And I think I was 11. I was sitting there with my dad and I was like, I'm going to do this next year. He's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then we did it. And then you see everybody playing on TV when you're a kid. You're like, I want to do that. That'd be cool. And I was like, so we had a good team. We were a really good team, and all the guys that we stayed together all the way through high school. So that was even more fun, and winning a state championship years later as seniors in high school. So we had a good run, and that was kind of goal from the get-go. And it was a weird thing to have when you're that young.
That's like the ultimate goal when you're that young. And then obviously you want to move on to college, this is where I start to get jealous. I played at Old Dominion University, which great, D1 college, but even while we're at Old Dominion, it's like we look at SEC schools, and in particular Ole Miss, and it's like that's like the pinnacle of when you think of college baseball, of like fun places to play. So when you were there, was it still considered, like, did they have like that party going on in the outfield? Was it like a sick place to play?
Yeah, you were. So in left, you had where like I guess your non-students wore, where it was a little bit more. They were just kind of grilling out, but right where the students were, it was beer showers, doing all their thing, having a good old time. And I remember leaving college and going to the minor leagues. I was like, man, it was way more fun playing in college. I don't know what I was doing leaving, but Ole Miss did a heck of a job. He putting together a good atmosphere for college baseball, that's for sure, and college football. You can't beat the Grove down there on SEC football Saturdays.
What's your best college memory then?
Oh man, there's too many to go directly to. But when you look at, the first time I stepped on campus, I was on a recruiting trip where Ole Miss was playing, I think, Auburn, when they had Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown and those guys back in the day. And I was like, man, this is cool. This is a little different. And then you go down there and you see guys like Tim Tebow coming through and playing again, and watching them play on the field when you're in college was neat.
That's sick. So why the number 31? You've worn that most of your career. Why 31?
So when I was in St. Louis, I came up in 11. I was 62. So just so you know, 62 is a terrible number to have on a World Series ring, but at least I have a ring, so I'll take it. But the next year I show up to spring training, or a week before spring training, like, hey, we got to get you out at 62. And I go, what do you have in the 30s? And they told me a couple, and I was like, man, I don't know about that. And they're like, 31's available. I was like, perfect. Let's just cut 62 and a half and go.
Oh, cut 62 and a half.
Is that simple? I was like, that works for me for now. And then now I'm 33, which was my college number. And it was my older brother wore that growing up his whole life and all that. So I kind of wore for him this year here on the South Side.
That's sick. So also I wanted to take note of the fact that Lance Lynn is currently doing this interview like in a little dungeon down underneath the stadium. It's an off day, so one, thank you for joining us on an off day, but also this little area they've made for you for COVID is cracking me up. But
Yeah, we got our single sitting serving cubicles for lunch right here in the hallway, but we're boarded up so nobody can get to us.
good, that's good. So in your first full year in the big leagues, you accomplished a lot. Big League All-Star, you won a World Series. What, like, so as a player growing up, thinking of myself personally and getting drafted is the goal. Then it becomes making the big leagues. Then it becomes like becoming an All-Star and a World Series champion. The only one of those like 5 things I listed that I did was getting drafted late as hell. So I can't experience. I have no way to relate. What is it like once you've done that so early on in your career? Like, what does your mind go to? What do your goals sort of shift to once you've become an all-star, your first full season, you win a World Series, and in your first ever season? What do your goals shift to from there?
Heck, after that, it was like, well, I've already accomplished all this. Now I just can't get sent down, or it was all for nothing. So it was like, all right, get to 3 years, and then it was get to 6 years, and then this year I might get to 10 is the plan. So it was just one step at a time, and I got lucky early on to have the All-Star game in the World Series that early, and you don't realize what you're doing because you're so young. And then when you look at it back now, I'm 33. It's been 10 years. It's like, man, I need to do that again. That was I need to experience that again. So that's where I'm at now. I'm getting to 10 years this year, and I need to get back to a World Series and give it another go.
So I actually notice I feel like this is going to be like, I feel like this year's special for you. 33, you were in 33 now. On June 2nd, that is your 10-year mark in the big leagues, which one is a big milestone in itself, but also means a lot for like your future. All that stuff kicks in. Is there anything planned for your 10-year on June 2nd? Like, do you have, like, it's a cool moment.
No, I agree. I think right now we're in the situation where we got all the protocols and we gotta abide by all that stuff. So I'm gonna see where all that's at and doing all that. But it's on the calendar. We got it marked. Family, wife, and kids. We're trying to make sure we got everybody there for us so we can enjoy it together.
That's sick, man. So I want to take you back a little bit to what I consider the best World Series game in history, which you got to pitch in. What was that game like? 2011 World Series, Game 6, Cardinals, Rangers. You pitched. I think it was the 8th inning. So what was it like participating in that game, and then also having to wake up that next day and go right back at it?
So you always go back. Everybody talks about it because it's epic game, right? So I was in line to get the loss after giving up back-to-back jacks. I think in the 7th or 8th inning, right there, like you said. So I was sitting there in the dugout clubhouse when we tied it, and I was like, "Oh shit, they got me off the hook. Now we got a chance." And then I was like, "Man, I didn't blow it for us. They picking me up." So I mean, David's yet to thank me for like that. That pretty much like catapulted me in an MVP of the World Series because I gave him the chance to do all that coming back. But no, it was I was 24. I felt like I just ruined the World Series for everyone. And then we come back and it was an awesome comeback win. And then next night, Tony put me back in there in the 8th inning and I was able to get through the side 3 of 3 down and we were able to win. So it was a crazy 24 plus hours there for me where I thought I was the worst pitcher in the world to next night celebrating a World Series and I was back in there too. So it was cool.
I've always said that. I've always been saying this. David Freese owes you for his MVP. Like, duh. That's incredible. So you actually, like you said, you struggled in Game 6, and then were you like surprised coming right back out that next day and saying, "Hey, you're getting the ball back. We're going to win this thing"? Or was it kind of like, you know what? I asked him for like, were you surprised to get the nod?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at, I was a rookie. You're coming back after giving up back-to-back homers the night before, and then I think Tony put me in a situation where I was facing, I think, Michael Young, Josh Hamilton, and it was a middle of the lineup, and I was like, what is he doing? You know, I'm getting loose. I'm like, all right, hell, you can't be worse than last night, so just let it fly. That was my thought process. It's like, go out there and just let it fly, and who cares? And then Tony, still to this day, was like, oh, you're going back in there. He goes, you had no fear, so I wasn't worried about it. And he goes, people looked at me like I was crazy, but I had, he goes, I had no fear in putting you back out there whatsoever.
So that year in 2011, you played for Tony La Russa, and it's kind of like come full circle. He was out of baseball for a while. You're now a vet as opposed to not even being an official rookie at the time. I feel like when Tony signed in Chicago to be the manager of the White Sox, it was kind of surprising to a lot of people. What has it been like having him now as a manager? And do you think, I mean, obviously you feel like it was the right fit, but what is it like having him now so many years later?
I mean, it's kind of crazy when you look back at that was your first manager in the big leagues when you came up. When you got drafted by the Cardinals, he was the manager when I was coming up to the minor leagues. So he got to know me pretty well, and I got to know him. And then you look back, you know, you're 10 years later, he's been out of the game, but he's a Hall of Famer now. It's like, I was like, Tony, what are you doing? He goes, I still want to win. I still have the itch. I still have the desire to do all of it. And I was like, good. So do I. That's why I'm still here. Let's do this thing. So it's been exciting. You know, it's obviously, you know, a little different with, you know, the time off and all that for him, but, you know, he's jumped right back into it. He's still the same guy. All he cares about is winning, doing your job, and making sure you're there for your teammates. And he's never changed, even though he's been out of the game for 10 years, or well, not in the dugout for 10 years. He's never left the game because I don't think he can.
So I wanted to get into you personally a little bit. You pitching, because baseball has kind of evolved over the last, I don't know, 5 years with the way pitchers go about it. And you were a guy that's always relied on your heater, but it seemed like baseball for a while became like sink it and cut it and sink it and cut it, and you know, sink into righties, cut it away, you know. And you became that guy. You could do that, but now it's almost like baseball's back to the heater, the good old four seamer, you know, up in the zone, totally different. How have you had to evolve as a pitcher?
It was crazy when I was growing up, and when I was in college at Ole Miss, it was four seamer up and curveball. So that's what I could throw a little two seamer, nothing crazy. And I got drafted by the Cardinals, who were known for sinker, especially the sinker ball back then with Dave Duncan and all that. So it was one of those things where you had to learn it, and you know, quick outs, you know, small pitch counts. That's what they're all about, getting the game moving. So I learned that, and then it's all kind of just able to morph it all into what I can do well, and use those things that I learned along the way to make me a pitcher that doesn't have the, you know, the big breaking ball or all that stuff. That, you know, that it's kind of a, you know, that cute thing that everybody does now. So I figured a long time ago I wasn't cute enough to do that. So let's just be good at what I'm good at, and let's just ride it out here.
You're very cute, Lance. Don't give your don't. So am I right? Like, has obviously you have evolved as a pitcher, but has baseball evolved in the last 5 years? I feel like, you know, I obviously have watched my brother a ton, or you know, I would try and watch every start of his, and it almost seems like his resurgence and his success, you know, over the last couple of years has been credited to the heater up, and that wasn't like, for a while that was like a taboo thing. So have you changed the way you pitched, or is it also like a league wide like cultural change in the way pitchers are going about attacking batters?
So I think it's definitely a league wide thing. Guys, that's all they work on now. So I think that we're going to run into a little thing here moving forward, is when hitters start covering that really well, and then you don't have anything else, because that's where we got it. Everybody started covering the sinker and the cutter, and then we went to the four seam up. And I think you're going to see the next phase is guys that are able to do both. And I'm hoping that I can stay around long enough to do both, and have success, you know, deep into my 30s. But if you have the ability to throw up, you've always had it. But that was just kind of those things that you were told not to do. They were like, oh, I know
Yeah.
you got away with it. It was back then. It was getting away with it. You got away with one up. But now it's like, no, I'm blowing him away. I've always been able to do that, but I was told that was a bad idea. And heck, if I would have just kind of did what I did growing up when I first came, I had strikeouts up there early in my career. But we wanted the ball in play. We wanted quick outs. You know, the strikeout wasn't wasn't as big as it is now. So it's just kind of the way the game evolves, and it kind of goes in cycles. But I think it might come back to where you got to be able to pitch up, you got to be able to pitch in and out, and be able to move around all four corners of the strike zone with it too.
Yeah, I do feel like hitters are going to adjust as well. And I remember, so my brother was kind of one that started the fastball up. He kind of was on the trend early, because I remember talking to him, and he's had really good success against Trout in his career. And I remember talking to him about facing Trout, and he was like, yeah, his, where you have to get him out is up and in. He hits everything low, everything down. He crushes. So that was his thing. And it's almost like, I feel like watching him, that is no longer a hole of his. So I think hitters are going to evolve as well. But what is it like facing Trout? And is that a hole of his anymore? Or is that like there's really nowhere to go with him?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at one of the the best hitters of all time. He's going to make that adjustment. He's going to start getting to things that are not his strengths, because that's who he is. He's gonna make those weaknesses turn into something that he can cover. I think that's one of those things that, like we were talking about, they're going to make the adjustment. So pitchers have to keep making the adjustment along the way, and you have to do what you got to do. But like you said, when you're facing Mike Trout, it's not a comfortable at bat. That's for darn sure. But you got to make your pitches, and you can't just live in one place to anybody, and especially to him.
I feel like everyone in their career ends up with like this not obscure, but some player that you wouldn't expect to like rake against you, or like is always a tough at bat for you. Who's your guy?
Man, I'm trying to. I had, when I was in St. Louis, the Joey Votto and Jay Bruce combination was just absolute torture for me. They absolutely crushed my sinker, and then they would take ball one, take ball two away, and I was like, all right, I gotta try to get in the strike zone, and whack. So those two, especially together on the same team, were tough for me early on in my career, until I learned how to manipulate the cutter in to them, and be able to use the sinker on both sides, and then started getting ahead of them and having a little bit of success. But they've got good numbers on me. And then I think Castro, he's still he's with Washington. He was with Chicago early on there forever. It's like every pitch I threw, it just was a knock. I don't understand it. I could throw him any pitch I had, and he would hit it for a hit. But he was hitting he had 200 hits a year though. So like when you look back on it, it didn't feel that bad. But it was like, man, I'm making good pitches, but everything's a hit to you, and I don't like it.
Well, look, I'm not here to make you to talk about your struggles. I'm here to make you look good. What's the reverse? Who's somebody that you like always get out?
Oh man, you put somebody like that, you start doing that, and the next thing I know, I face them and they go off on me. That's like the worst thing.
Yeah. We won't even talk about it.
You don't even want to. The way I approach everything is they're hitting 1,000 off me. It's about time they get out. It doesn't matter who it is in the
box. Speaking of guys you have faced, I am like obsessed with the career that was Josh Hamilton. I think for like a very brief period of time, he's one of the greatest athletes we've seen in baseball. It was absolutely remarkable what he did in his career. And you got to face him. And you got to face him when he was like in that prime. What was the game plan going into a game, getting ready to face a guy like him?
Man, it was like, well, first of all, you know how going into a game, it's like, this guy's not going to beat me. So if I get behind, I'm not even going to give him anything to hit. But you're talking about a guy that he could cover anything on both sides of the plate and do damage to all fields. And it was just, and it didn't even look like he was really trying. It was like he was just, all right, I'm in the box, I'm here, and I dare you to throw something that I could put a barrel on because I'm going to blast it. So that when you're looking at a hitter and he just looks like he's going to own you, it's like, especially I was young too, so I was like, this dude looks like he's all over wherever I'm going to throw it. I don't like it. But that's how locked in he was, and that's how easy the game was. And that's kind of like we're talking about with Trout. The game's slow to certain guys, and it was definitely really slow to him in that time where he was special, man.
You mentioned being locked in, and I feel like personally of anybody, you get like locked in Like you get so locked in. I was watching a spring training start of yours this year. You were yelling at umpires. It was awesome. I love it personally. It's almost like, and I've heard you say before, you feel like you need to get angry. And is that something you need to like get yourself to? Is that a place you need to get yourself to? We had Tyler Glasnow on a previous episode, and he had to like go into like Pharma Bro to get himself angry and all that stuff. Like, where is that something that come naturally to you when you're on the mound?
Yeah, the anger kind of comes naturally, and it's the crazy thing is it's more at myself when I like make a pitch that I shouldn't, or I try to. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, you're being an idiot right now, and then it's just like I'm not very I'm not a guy that boosts myself up with talk. I'm like, hey, it's time for you to stop being a dumbass. There's no other way to say it, and then it kind of trickles over, and it just gets myself fired up. But I mean, early on in my career, it was one of those things where I would get too fired up and stuff would start going all over the place. So it was definitely a fine line. And then the older I've gotten here, I'm able to control it in a sense where I'm using it for the good of myself and not, just getting pissed and trying to throw the ball by everybody.
It also seems like it's something where, you've had an extremely successful career and you're obviously a good pitcher. So it's like you get yourself there and it's like, oh, this guy goes after it. He's tough on the mound. And it's like if a rookie came up and is like acting like a badass on the mound and then gives up like 6 runs, it's like this guy has issues. Like, I don't know if you can pitch like this.
Oh yeah, early on in my career, I was wore my emotions on my sleeve too much. I had bad mound presence, bad attitude, and all that. And then you start pitching a little better, and all of a sudden you turn into a bulldog, fierce competitor. It's crazy how that works.
um, so I have something that I ask, a few different questions that I ask everybody that comes on. And there's obviously, especially with COVID right now, a lot of like rule changes going on. If you were commissioner for a day, what is one rule in baseball, not just COVID related, that you would change?
Oh man, so I've never actually been asked that. I know that you get asked about all the new rule changes. What do you think and all that? Oh man, I'm a traditional starting pitcher guy. So you're talking about my whole life. When I watched a baseball game, I wanted to know who was starting, and I wanted to see who was going to last longer and who was going to be. When you look at the end of the night, who was going to be the man. So I hope we get back to those days. I don't know if we will full fledged where it's like, hey, where everybody's going 110 pitches against each other, but I think that they're trying to get that back. And I mean, I think that brings the excitement back to the game. It's you go to the ballpark to see who's starting against who. Like you look at Shohei Ohtani, people are coming to see him start. He's building back in after being off and stuff. But it's exciting to see those guys in the 7th, 8th inning working against the lineup third time through to actually see the cat and mouse, watch them work. I hope. I mean, that's not a rule change, but that's just the old.
No, yeah.
I guess I'm the old guy now that likes the old stuff. You versus me for let's see who's gonna last the longer, who's gonna last the longest, and then we'll go have a beer afterwards.
So recently in baseball there was a no-hitter, but it was 7 innings. So I wanted to get your opinion on that because I have my opinions. And I was watching it happen. Madison Bumgarner threw 7-inning complete game, 0 hits, but it does not count as a no-hitter. And I was watching and it almost seemed like nobody knew what to do. Like Bumgarner was kind of like, yeah, this is cool. The team kind of gave like a half-assed celebration. What are your thoughts on it? 1, as a pitcher, and 2, do you think it should count as a no-hitter?
So we were talking about this today, actually. With it's a game that is scheduled for that amount of innings, and that's the case. We went over today. The starters that here today were saying it's a no hitter, but if it's a rain shortened 7 innings or something like that, it's not. So it's one of those things. If it's on the scheduled for 7, and you throw a no hitter, you didn't give up a hit, it's a no hitter. But that's kind of the fine line there. So it's a tough one, but I think if it's on the schedule for 7 and you do it, you did it. But I also don't like the double headers, 7 innings, but it is nice when you have to do them.
Right. It's so like I remember, I played in the Florida State League and there's a million right now. So it gets brutal. So you start, it's like one, the games are annoying, but it's like you wake up and it's like, oh, we got a doubleheader. Oh, wait, it's only 7 innings each game. That definitely helps them. So my opinion on it here is that, look, it's going to go down in the record books. Not that complete games like are super talked about, but they're cool. This is going to go down as a complete game. So my whole thing is, if it's going to count as an official complete game in the record book, I feel like it needs to count as an official no-hitter. And it's either got to be one way or the other. It can't count as a complete game and not a no-hitter. It's got to be one way or the other, in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. I didn't even think about it that way, but that's, I mean, 100% there. If that's what I'm saying. If it's on the schedule and that's what you're supposed to play, then that's what it is, in my opinion.
So if you were on the mound and you get through 7 no-hit innings, because I have the vision in my head of him throwing 7 no-hit innings and him just being like kind of like smiling. Are you like, would you have been pumped or would you have been like pissed off? Like, I need to go 2 more innings. Like, where would your mindset have been?
I think for me, as the you were talking about the old school thing, it's like, man, I need 2 more innings right now. Let's just keep going and see where this takes us. But if the game's over and it didn't give up a hit, it's like I did my job the best I possibly could today. So that's what when you take the mound, that's all you're trying to do. So I would celebrate it as one hell of a game. That's for sure. But it's obviously not going to be a no-hitter. But you take the complete game, and I didn't give up a hit. That's the way I take it.
Yeah. So one big discussion we have on this show is the face of Major League Baseball. Who is the face of Major League Baseball? We talk about it a lot. I have my opinion. My producer has another opinion. I want to ask you, who right now is the face of Major League Baseball?
Man, if you'd have asked me a year ago, it's a no-doubter, in my opinion, and that was Trout. And I've played with guys that, make a case for it. And now you're looking at, what Mookie Betts is doing. And then Fernando Tatis is starting to do things and is doing things as a young player that is saying he definitely has thrown his cap in and said, I'm here, boys. I'm coming for everybody. So there's so many good players, but when you look at those 3 right there, I don't think anyone's dethroned Trout yet, but there's some guys that are definitely making it interesting.
Let me tell you how little you just helped our argument. The argument has been him picking Mookie Betts the whole time, me saying it's actually no one right now, but I think Fernando Tatis is emerging as the face of baseball. And obviously Trout is always in the discussion. My opinion is just that he doesn't want to be that guy. He's not not that the other guys are flashy. He's just not like, he's not the same kind of player they are. I do think he's the best player in the world. But yeah, so our argument this whole time has been between Trout, Mookie, and Tatis. So thank you for all your help.
Anytime I can not help at all, I will.
All right. So some recurring questions we ask all of our guests. It's a career moments segment. So I have 3 questions for you. Career moments. First one, what was your welcome to the MLB moment?
Oh man, welcome to the MLB. I would say, well, as a player on the field, I threw first pitch strike. So you're just like, okay, cool. And then I threw 3 straight balls, and I was like, and then I to get to a full count, I gave up a foul homer. I was like, this is not going well. And then I got an out. So I was like, all right, we're cool. I can say I made it. That was my thought. But and then you also have the veteran guys in St. Louis really taking care of it. And, you get your suit. That was kind of like your, hey, welcome to the big leagues, kid. You got a suit now. Now wear it and look professional.
What was your most memorable play on the field?
Oh man, I mean, for me, when you go back to the World Series in 11, the home run that David hit was obviously the most memorable. But for me personally, oh man, I don't have it. Everything kind of starts rolling together. the more you play here. But as a guy on a team, that when David hit that home run, that was, and it's still one of those things where you don't forget it.
Well, it is personal because it would never have happened if it wasn't for you, as you said, who should have
If
been.
if I wouldn't have gave up a couple homers, David wouldn't be the hero he is in St.
So
Louis. So he's welcome.
you should be MVP of the 2011 World Series, which in my mind I've always said you are. And
100%.
the last career moment, a moment that stands out to you with teammates that took place off the field.
Oh, we had, so it's easy because it's always about golf as a pitcher, right? So we were in San Francisco. We went down to play Cypress Point down in Pebble, and it was myself, Jake Westbrook, and Adam Wainwright, and we rented a car, and we spent we did a whole day playing a course that we'll never be able to get back on again. I only got on because of who they were. But that was like one of those things where this was cool then, but they really, those two, Kyle Loesch and Chris Carpenter really took care of me in my days in St. Louis. So, those times with those guys were pretty cool.
I very well know the experience of getting to play that course, not because of you, but who you're playing with. I got to play it last year with my brother and a couple other people in the group. So I would be remiss without asking you what you did on the par 3, what is it, 15th? It's like 240 yards across the water. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when you got to go 3-wood to get over.
You got it's driver off the tee, basically.
What are we doing right here? I was like, all right, I got to kind of hood this iron. I think I went 3 iron, and I pulled it left of the green, and I just barely kept it on.
So you were safe
from
though.
rolling down.
I feel like that's the goal.
I was chipping greenside.
There you go. So one question I ask everybody as well is, what is one experience from the minor leagues? Because I played minor league baseball, so I relate to it, and I know how important it is to baseball because it's very unique. Not, in other sports, people don't have to grind through a minor league sort of experience. So everybody's sort of gone through it. What is one experience you took from the minor leagues that you take with you to this day?
I think the biggest thing is when you get to the major leagues and realize how blessed you are to be here, and then you look back at all the stuff you went through, and the relationships you build on bus trips for 8 to 12 hours and things like that are pretty cool. But it also makes you really understand of how special it is to get here, and how much as much as you enjoy the process of, well, no one enjoyed the process of coming up to the minor leagues. They're like, get me out of here as fast as you can and get me to the big leagues. But it made you really, really understand and be grateful for being in the major leagues. So all the bus trips and all the, late bus rides to the middle of the night. It's like, man, the bus drivers around the world are special people to be able to do the things they do driving through the night. That's for sure.
Well, you got there, man. And all those bus trips led to a pretty damn good, almost 10-year career. And congratulations on coming up on 10 years this year. I'm really excited for you. Congratulations on that. And thank you so much for joining me. It was a blast. Come back on whenever you want, man. I'd love to have you.
No, I appreciate it. Hopefully when I get to 10 years, I can get the bike I was driving around in Batavia, New York when I first signed. Maybe I can get that. That'll be a nice little gift, but I don't think it exists anymore.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way, dude.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Wait, what is this? I should have asked you, but what is this bike story?
No, so when I signed it in Batavia, New York, that was a 39th pick. So I had $20 to my name when I signed. And so I got to Batavia, New York, and I was able to get a bike because you didn't have a car, and we were staying at a host family's house.
Yeah.
So there was three of us in a host house where it was like one bedroom with a giant closet with two full beds in it. That's the way we were. That was my first month in the minor leagues. So the only way everybody was on bikes. Every person on the team was biking around Batavia, New York. We would go to a local deli to get a 12-inch sub, and we'd eat half before the game, half after. That was what we did. And
the thought of you riding around this bike. I've eaten at that Denny's in Batavia. Batavia is a dump, by the way. So to envision you riding around on your little bike in Batavia.
Oh yeah, I went from Oxford, Mississippi to Batavia, New York, and I was like, I'm going back. I called the front office like, I need to go back to college. This is not it. This is not where I'm at. And then the next week I was in Quad City, so I was like, all right, cool. But I gave my bike away and never saw it again.
We got to get you that bike, dude. All right, man. I'll let you. I'll let you go.
I think it was like orange too. It was not a pretty bike.
Well, enjoy your off day, dude. Thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. If you love flipping bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.